Caritas Fanling Chan Chun Ha Secondary School. Second Term Examination. S5 English Language. Paper 3, Listening and Integrated Skills. Instruction to candidates. You should have on your desk a question-answer book and a data file. Do not open them until you are told to do so. I repeat. Do not open them until you are told to do so. Now write your name, circle your group or class, write your class number in the spaces provided on page 1 of your question-answer book and data file. Now look at your question-answer book. Check that the question-answer book has no missing pages. Look for the words "End of paper" on the last page. Now look at your data file. Check that the data file has no missing pages. Look for the words "This is the last page of the data file" on the last page. You are reminded that all examination materials will be played once only. This paper is divided into 2 parts. Part A and Part B. For Part A, you should use a pencil to answer all questions. For Part B, you can use a pen or pencil. Put up your hand if you have any questions. It is not possible to handle complaints after you have taken the paper. The listening component is about to begin. Open your question-answer book at page 3.
Part A. In Part A, you will have a total of 4 tasks to do related to the theme of sustainability. Follow the instructions in the question-answer book and in the recording to complete the tasks. You will find all the information you need in the question-answer book and the recording. You now have 2 minutes to familiarize yourself with tasks 1 to 4. Task 1. Edward Chan is a member of an environmental club at his school. He is talking about the club in an interview on the school's weekly podcast. Listen and complete the information in the spaces below. The first one has been provided as an example. You now have 30 seconds to study the task. At the end of the task, you will have 1 minute to tidy up your answers.
Thanks everyone for checking out the Kennedy Town College Weekly Podcast. We've got a great interview for you all today with none other than our fellow student and schoolmate, Edward Chan. Good to see you, Edward.
You too.
So, we wanted you to come on the show to tell us a bit about the environmental club that you're in. I take it you won't mind talking about that, right?
Oh, I could talk about the club for hours, no problem. I should point out, though, that while the club is an environmental club, it's actually called the Green Club.
Oh, right, yes, the Green Club. I should have made that clear. Apologies. Anyway, the club is quite new, isn't it?
Pretty new, yes. It was founded a few years ago, so in 2022.
Right, I see. And you're the chairperson of the club, is that right?
No, I'm the treasurer.
Ah, yes, the treasurer. I'm so sorry, I keep getting everything wrong.
No worries at all. As you said, the club is quite new, so we don't expect people to know all about it.
That's good of you, Edward. So, anyway, the club is fairly new, but I know it's grown quite quickly. How many members do you have at the moment?
Well, we started with 12 members, but within a year we'd already doubled that number. And currently, we're really proud to have exactly 3 times as many members as we started with.
Wow! So almost 40 members. That's not bad for such a new club. You must be doing something right then. And, you know, that actually brings me on to my next question. What do you do in the Green Club?
Oh, loads of different things. But the main thing we do, of course, is promote environmental awareness.
OK, yeah, that kind of goes without saying. I mean, promoting environmental awareness is the main reason environmental clubs exist in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So, when it comes to more specific activities, something we do quite frequently is organise talks by different experts. You know, our schoolmates might get tired of us club members going on and on about the environment, so we feel it's important to organise talks by people who really know their stuff. Oh, and we do some more active activities as well, like beach cleanups and planting trees.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Can anyone join in the beach cleanups and the tree planting, or is it just for club members?
Anyone can join, of course. The more the merrier. That's our motto. In fact, we're hoping to get lots and lots of people to come to the next event that we're organising.
And what event is that?
It's a flea market.
Really? That's awesome. I love a good flea market. When's this happening?
On the 15th of February.
Hang on, let me check my schedule. Right, so February the 15th is a Saturday. Excellent! I should be able to make it then.
Good to hear. Oh, and just so you know, and the listeners as well, obviously, it's being held in the school gym. We figured an indoor venue would be the safest option.
Yeah, sounds sensible. It's starting to get pretty cold out there after all. So what's the purpose of this flea market then? Is it to raise funds for the club?
Yes, that's one of the main reasons we're organising this event for sure.
But not the only reason.
No, we have another objective, which we feel is just as important, and that is to give old things new life.
Give old things new life? What exactly do you mean by that?
Well, basically that we want to encourage second-hand shopping, because by buying things second-hand, you give new life to something that would otherwise be thrown away. That's clearly much better than always buying brand new things from stores.
Yes, and that's precisely why I love flea markets so much. Right, that's all the time we have, I'm afraid. Thanks again for coming on the show, Edward, and I'll see you on the 15th of February.
That is the end of task 1. You now have 1 minute to tidy up your answers. Task 2. Jenny and Quentin are visiting a travel expo. Listen to their conversation and complete the information in the spaces below. The first one has been provided as an example. You now have 30 seconds to study the task. At the end of the task, you will have 1 minute to tidy up your answers. Right. So, what is this place you've taken me to, Jenny? I thought we were going for lunch.
Well, yes, we are in a while. But I told you I wanted to go to the Travel for Good Expo first, remember?
The Travel for Good Expo? Okay, yeah, I have a vague memory of that, I think. I believe you said it's on the theme of voluntourism, is that right?
No, not voluntourism, ecotourism.
Right. And what's the difference?
Well, I think voluntourism is more about travelling to a place and helping the people there in some way. But since this is an ecotourism expo, the exhibitors here all organise tours that visit natural environments. And from what I've read, all the tours they offer also support different conservation efforts.
Okay, I see. But if the tours support conservation efforts, doesn't that also help the people in the places they visit?
Yes, maybe. I don't know. Let's not get too hung up on the definitions, all right? How about we go and have a look at some of the tours on offer instead?
Sure, fine by me. This exhibitor here seems to have some pretty cool options. Check it out. They have a tour to Brazil. And wow, you get to go trekking in the Amazon rainforest.
OK, so see? Trekking in the rainforest is a perfect example of what ecotourism is all about. And it seems the people on this tour will also be staying in tents rather than in some massive concrete hotel, which is another aspect of ecotourism.
Okay, so it's sustainable travel, basically. I get it. Oh, look, they have a trip to the Great Barrier Reef as well. You know, in Australia. Wow, apparently you get to do a whole week of scuba diving on this tour. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? Though, come to think of it, I guess you'd need a scuba diving license for that.
Yeah, that rules us out, I'm afraid. That and the cost, obviously. I'm guessing this tour would be ridiculously expensive, especially since the accommodation is on a liveaboard sailing yacht.
Yeah, staying on a sailing yacht and spending all your time scuba diving can't be cheap exactly.
No, hardly. Oh, look, this tour would be amazing, though. It goes to the Komodo National Park in Indonesia.
The Komodo National Park? Is that where those big lizards live?
Yes, exactly. And that's the whole point of this tour, of course, to see the world's biggest lizard.
Now that would be pretty awesome. Yeah, look at this though. The accommodation is in something they call an eco-resort.
Oh, right. That also sounds way too expensive for us.
Yeah, that's my point exactly. All these tours are too expensive. I had no expectations when I came here, and then I saw all these amazing-looking tours, but there's no way I could ever afford to go on one. How annoying is that?
Easy, Quentin. Who knows? Maybe you'll be rich one day. Besides, even if I don't get to go on one of these tours myself, I think it's really good just to know that there are tours like these. So many people go on holiday just to lie on a beach or go shopping, so it's pretty awesome to see tours that celebrate the natural world. I mean, that is pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I guess. Anyway, want to go look for an ecotourism experience we can actually afford? Like maybe a swim at Repulse Bay?
Sounds good.
That is the end of Task 2. You now have 1 minute to tidy up your answers. Task 3. Listen to a podcast interview with Jocelyn, Teddy and Fatima, who are talking about the major lifestyle change each of them has made recently. Complete the information in the spaces below. You now have 30 seconds to study the task. At the end of the task, you will have 1 minute to tidy up your answers.
Thanks, Jocelyn, Teddy and Fatima for joining me on the show today. The three of you have something in common in that you've all made a major lifestyle change in the last few years. And you did so for a very noble reason, to try to help the planet. So, the logical place to start, I suppose, is with the actual change each of you has made in your life. Fatima, do you want to begin?
Of course, I'd be happy to. My lifestyle change was pretty straightforward, and I'm hardly the only person who's made the same decision in order to help the planet, or just to stay healthy for that matter. You see, I decided to become a vegan.
Right, so you became a vegan, meaning you don't eat any animal products at all. Like meat, seafood, milk, and eggs, and so on, right?
Exactly. And I also don't use any animal products, like leather and stuff like that.
Right. And when did you decide to become a vegan?
Well, let's see. I think it was about 2 years ago now.
Wow, so 2 years without meat. I don't think I could do that myself, if I'm honest. Though it is, of course, much better for the environment. Now, Teddy, what was the big change you made?
Oh, I stopped buying new clothes. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not buying any clothes, just that I get everything second-hand rather than brand new. The fashion industry is ridiculously wasteful, so that struck me as a great way to do my part for the environment. I only made that change in September of last year, though, so I guess we'll have to see how long I last.
Well, I hope it works out for you, Teddy. Jocelyn, what about you?
I gave up flying.
Wow, completely?
Yep. And that was in 2022, and it hasn't caused me any major problems so far.
No major problems, but it must have caused some problems, surely.
Well, yes, if I'm honest, it wasn't long before I really missed travelling overseas. But the good news is that I found a solution to that. You see, these days, I go on train holidays instead, mostly in China.
Yeah, good idea. Because going on train holidays is definitely better for the environment. There's no doubt about that. So, Teddy, what about you? Have you had any difficulty since you decided to stop buying new clothes?
Yes, the main difficulty I've had is finding the right size when shopping for second-hand clothes. But these days, I just get clothes altered if they don't quite fit.
I see. Isn't it rather expensive, though, to get clothes altered?
Not really. And of course, I save money by buying them second-hand in the first place.
Yes, that's true, I suppose. Now, Fatima, have you had any problems since becoming a vegan?
Yes, finding good vegan food in restaurants has been quite tricky.
Ah, yes, I've certainly heard from my vegan friends that it can be difficult to find good vegan food in restaurants.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating. But, you know, I just learnt to cook, and that took care of that problem.
And saved you a lot of money too, I bet. Now, we're almost out of time, but before we go, do you guys have a parting message for our listeners, by any chance? Fatima, can we start with you?
A message? Let me think. Well, I guess I'd like to encourage the listeners to do what I did and get a healthier diet for a healthier planet.
Get a healthier diet for a healthier planet. Wise words indeed. Jocelyn, do you have any wise words for our listeners?
Sure, my message would be stay grounded.
Oh, I see what you did there. I like it. And Teddy, finally, what would your message be?
Well, I can't actually take credit for this, but I've always lived by the popular motto, reuse, reduce, recycle. So I guess that would be my message for the audience.
Yes, that's an important message for sure, and a great way to end this interview. Thanks again, Jocelyn, Teddy and Fatima, for taking the time to talk with me today.
That is the end of Task 3. You now have 1 minute to tidy up your answers. Task 4. Listen to a talk by Tony Kong, the founder of an environmental charity, and answer the questions below. Please note that you do not need to answer in complete sentences. You now have 30 seconds to study the task. At the end of the task, you will have 3 minutes to tidy up your answers. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tony Kong, and I'm the founder of the Sensible Plastic Alliance. The main goal of my organization is to reduce the amount of plastic that gets produced and discarded around the world. Now, if you don't think plastic is a problem, then consider the fact that we're currently producing an astonishing 460 million tons of the stuff every year. And what makes it even worse is that about half of that, almost 500 tons worth of plastic, is used just once and then thrown away. Still, the reason that my organization is called the Sensible Plastic Alliance is that we're also willing to admit that there are some positive aspects to plastic. For example, something that's often mentioned is that plastic is very cheap to produce. However, while this is clearly beneficial both to businesses and consumers, it's not something that the Sensible Plastic Alliance tends to highlight. Our focus, you see, is purely on what's best for the environment. But a benefit that we do highlight is that plastic is incredibly durable. I mean, this stuff lasts for a very long time, although there are, of course, some problems with that as well, which we'll get back to in a bit. Anyway, another good thing about plastic is that it's lightweight and therefore requires less fuel to transport than many other materials. This simple fact, that it requires less fuel to transport, is something we always highlight as a positive aspect of plastic, in that the transportation of this material produces fewer greenhouse gases. Speaking of greenhouse gases, though, the production of plastic certainly creates a lot of those, which is, of course, a massive issue in this age of aggressive climate change. And, as I hinted at earlier, the fact that plastic lasts for so long means that plastic pollution is now a major global problem. As a solution to that problem, many people and organizations promote biodegradable plastic as an alternative to traditional plastic. But the ironic thing is that there's actually a benefit to traditional plastic not being biodegradable. You see, when a substance biodegrades, it releases its carbon into the atmosphere. But because traditional plastic lasts for so long, hundreds of years in some cases, it means that it releases its carbon into the atmosphere much more slowly. For that reason, I don't think biodegradable plastic is a very good alternative to traditional plastic. Instead, I think we should place our focus on switching to plant-based plastic that isn't biodegradable. Of course, this won't solve our plastic pollution problem. The sad reality is that we'll likely be dealing with that for decades, if not centuries, to come. But the good news is that there are some things we can all do to make the situation better. First of all, we should make sure to use our plastic products for as long as possible. And related to that, I'd also recommend that you try to find other uses for plastic products rather than throwing them away. For example, you can easily upcycle a plastic water bottle into a flower pot or planter. Most importantly, though, we really need to try to minimize our use of single-use plastics, which is the biggest culprit by far when it comes to plastic waste. That is the end of Task 4 and of Part A. You now have 3 minutes to complete your answers to Task 4 and to tidy up all your other answers. Part B. Look at page 2 of your data file. Situation. You are Ali Wang. You work for the Tai Po Farm and Botanical Garden as an assistant to Miss Ursula Tam, the manager of Tai Po Farm and Botanical Garden. Miss Tam has asked you to complete some tasks. You will listen to a podcast of Flower Hour, a radio program on Hong Kong radio. On the podcast, you will hear Tina Wan interview John Young, the founder of the Tai Po Farm and Botanical Garden, and Ursula Tam. Before the recording is played, you will have 5 minutes to study the question-answer book and the data file to familiarize yourself with the situation and the tasks. Complete the tasks by following the instructions in the question-answer book and on the recording. You will find all the information you need in the question-answer book, the data file, and on the recording. As you listen, you can make notes on page 3 of the data file. You now have 5 minutes to familiarize yourself with the question-answer book and the data file. The recording is about to begin. Turn to page 3 of the data file.
Welcome back to the Flower Hour. I'm pleased to have a couple of guests with me in the studio for this next segment, namely Ursula Tam and John Young from the Typo Farm and Botanical Garden. Thank you for coming on the show, Ursula and John.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's our pleasure, Tina.
So, if you don't mind, I thought we'd start by talking about this interesting sounding event that you've got coming up called Farm Adventure Day. Could you fill us in?
Sure, happy to. Farm Adventure Day is scheduled for the 8th of February and it's basically what it sounds like. Participants will get to have an adventurous and highly educational day at our farm.
Sounds great. And this is happening on February the 8th, you said. Can people just show up at any time?
No, it's a carefully organised event, so we need everyone to meet up at 10:30 in the morning.
Right, I see. Well, 10:30 isn't frightfully early exactly. Even I am usually up by then, and I'm definitely not a morning person.
You should come then. We'll be meeting up at the main entrance to the farm. You know where that is, I assume.
The main entrance? Yes, of course. I've been to your wonderful park dozens of times. So is this a full-day event, or will the participants be there for just a few hours?
It's an 8-hour event, so I guess that qualifies as full day.
Oh, 8 hours is more than a full day in my book. Now, I hope you don't mind if I ask you about something I saw in the news yesterday, about some kind of incident at the park. Could you give us some more information about that?
Sure. So this incident occurred a couple of days ago on the 18th of January.
The 18th, so that was Saturday, right?
Yes, exactly. And what happened was that a visitor to Typo Farm and Botanical Garden got lost in the forest.
Really? One of your visitors got lost in the forest? How is that even possible? I mean, you've got a farm and some lovely gardens, but you don't have an actual forest, do you?
No, that's just the thing. I really want to stress here that we are not to blame for what happened. And the reason we're not to blame is that the incident happened after the visitor left our park.
Oh, right. So this person had left the park already?
Yes, exactly. He left through the northern gate, not the main entrance. And to the north of the park, there's a large forest.
Oh, yes, of course. And you're right, it's hardly your fault then. You know, speaking of incidents in nature, I saw quite a lot of snakes last year when I was out hiking. Are snakes ever a problem at Typo Farm and Botanical Garden?
Well, we do get snakes visiting us from time to time, yes. In fact, I've been thinking it'd be a good idea to hand out a leaflet to our visitors with some snake do's and don'ts.
You mean like what to do if you get bitten?
Yes, even though that is extremely unlikely.
Oh, that's certainly good to hear. But still, could you maybe share some tips with our listeners?
Sure. So, the first thing to do, if you are unfortunate enough to get bitten, is to move away from the snake.
Right, because if you don't move away from the snake, it might bite you again?
Precisely. So that's very important. And the second thing you should do is call 999.
Right, so you'd advise people to call the emergency number 999 for all snake bites. So that really shows how important it is to have a phone with you then.
Yes, for sure. And a phone can come in handy in other ways too, because it really helps if you can try to identify the species of the snake that bit you. And taking a photo is a good way to do that. Though, of course, you should only do that if it's safe.
Yes, naturally. But you're saying it's important to try to identify the type of snake. Is that because of the anti-venom?
Exactly. If you can identify the species of the snake, it'll be much easier for the medical staff to treat you correctly.
OK, some useful advice there. Thanks, John. Now, there's another slightly sensitive topic I'd like to discuss. Did you see the letter to the editor that appeared in the Hong Kong Daily News recently? It was entitled, "Let's Make Zoos a Thing of the Past," and the writer mentioned Typo Farm and Botanical Garden.
Really? I hadn't seen that. Did you say the letter was entitled Make Zoos a Thing of the Past?
Yes, that's correct, which is why I thought it was strange that the writer complained about Typo Farm and Botanical Garden. Because it's not a zoo, is it?
No, it's not a zoo. Rather, it's an open-air animal shelter.
Ah, yes, because you do actually have some animals, don't you? But you use the term open-air animal shelter rather than zoo.
Yes, for the simple reason that it's a much more appropriate description. You see, all our animals are rescued illegal pets.
Oh, OK, I see. So you don't buy animals and put them in cages, but rather you give shelter to illegal pets that have been rescued. Right, that certainly sounds more like an open-air animal shelter than a zoo then. Thanks for the clarification, Ursula.
That is the end of the listening component of this paper. You will now have 1 hour and 15 minutes to complete the written tasks in either Part B1 or Part B2. An announcement will be made when time is up.